Machu Picchu is situated in the Vilcabamba region, a part of the Andes mountain range that is also on the edge of the Amazonian rainforest. A team of Polish researchers collaborated with teams in Peru and Italy to test a scientific reconstruction of Machu Picchu.
High in the Peruvian Andes, bulldozers are carving a path through sacred land as Chinchero International Airport rises, just 60 kilometers from Machu Picchu. Hidden structures, underground engineering, and ancient DNA are rewriting Inca history. But are we ready to handle the truth? Could modern ambition destroy a 5-century-old legacy? The clock is ticking, and the future of Machu Picchu hangs in the balance. Machu Picchu, Empire of Secrets. For over a century,
Machu Picchu is one of the most fascinating archaeological sites on the planet.
The dominant story about Machu Picchu went like this. It was a royal retreat, a mountain getaway built for the Inca Emperor Pachacuti around 1450 AD. Elites visited seasonally. Servants maintained the grounds. End of story. That narrative started cracking in July 2023. A team led by Yale archaeologist Richard Berger, in collaboration with researchers from UC Santa Cruz, Tulane University, the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology, and Peru's Universidad Nacional de San Antonio Abad del Cusco, published the first genome-wide study of people buried at Machu Picchu. Their findings landed in the journal Science Advances, and they changed the conversation. The team extracted ancient DNA from the teeth of 34 individuals buried at the site, retainers and attendants believed to have served the Inca royal family, along with 34 comparative individuals from burial sites around Cusco. The DNA was severely degraded after centuries of exposure, but modern sequencing techniques at the UC Santa Cruz Paleogenomics Lab and the Max Planck Institute managed to recover enough data for full genomic analysis. What they found was unexpected. The population at Machu Picchu was not homogeneous, that it was strikingly diverse. Individuals carried genetic ancestries linked to the Andean highlands, the northern and southern Peruvian coast, and, utmost surprising, the Amazon.
Peru's coastal region is the definition of surreal beauty.
Not one Amazonian region, at least 2 distinct zones. About a third of all individuals tested showed significant Amazonian ancestry. Lead author Lucy Salazar called it an unanticipated result. Few of the buried individuals were actually from the Inca heartland of the Cusco Valley or the Lake Titicaca Basin. They had come from everywhere. Some carried mixed ancestries from regions thousands of kilometers apart, suggesting that people at Machu Picchu were forming relationships across genetic backgrounds, producing a diverse community unlike anything found in typical agricultural villages of the period. Yet the researchers discovered only one pair of close relatives among the 34, a mother and daughter. And here's what makes that detail significant. They were buried together in the same cemetery area, but not segregated by origin. All 4 cemetery zones at Machu Picchu mixed people of different ancestries together, in life and in death. Richard Berger described it as a cosmopolitan community. Lars Ferin Schmitz, co-corresponding author from UC Santa Cruz, emphasized that the study focused not on royals or political elites, but on the Yanacona, the retainer class, people selected from across the empire and permanently relocated to serve. These were individuals subject to Inca forced relocation policies, drawn from far-flung provinces and assigned to Machu Picchu for life. The implication hit hard. Machu Picchu wasn't just a royal estate where the emperor took vacations. It was an operational hub, drawing labor, skill, and human capital from every corner of a massive empire. A place where people from the coast, the highlands, and the deep jungle lived together, worked together, and were buried together. That level of human diversity, encoded in ancient DNA, suggests a site far more complex, far more central, and far more important than the mountain retreat model had ever allowed. And if the people who lived there were that diverse, it raised a harder question. How much of Machu Picchu have we actually explored? Secrets beneath the stones. The answer, it turns out, is not nearly enough. The Machu Picchu National Archaeological Park covers over 36,000 hectares. It includes roughly 60 known archaeological sites. Most have never been studied in detail because the terrain is nearly impenetrable. Dense tropical forest blankets the valleys and ridges surrounding the main citadel.
Machu Picchu is a testament to the power and ingenuity of the Inca people.
The landscape drops away in sheer cliffs. Access trails are dangerous and few. For decades, archaeologists assumed the areas outside the main complex were secondary, peripheral structures, minor outposts, jungle that had simply reclaimed empty land. LiDAR proved that assumption wrong. A team led by Polish researcher Bartłomiej Chmielewski from Wrocław University of Science and Technology, working alongside Dominika Sieczkowska of the University of Warsaw and the management of the Machu Picchu National Archaeological Park, deployed drone-mounted LiDAR scanners over the Chinchero Ceremonial Complex, a site located within the park, less than 5 miles from the main citadel. LiDAR works by firing billions of laser pulses from an airborne platform. The pulses penetrate through vegetation and bounce off the ground surface, creating a 3-dimensional digital map of terrain that is invisible to the naked eye. It essentially strips away the forest canopy and reveals what's underneath. What the scans revealed were 12 previously unknown structures arranged in circular and rectangular patterns on the outskirts of the Chinchero complex. Staff residences, the team believes. Buildings constructed with less precision than the central ceremonial structures, but clearly part of the site's operational infrastructure. The scans also uncovered previously unknown segments of stone block water channels, partially underground aqueducts that supplied water from a nearby river to the ceremonial fountains at Chinchero. Sieczkowska noted that indications suggest it was mainly women who maintained the complex, a finding consistent with artifacts recovered in earlier excavations. The researchers also built a hydrodynamic model of the water channels and determined that their flow volume was too small for practical use. The water had a ritual purpose, a symbolic function. Chinchero wasn't a utility station, it was a spiritual gateway, a place where visitors underwent ceremonial purification before being permitted to enter Machu Picchu itself. The earlier LiDAR attempts at Machu Picchu in 2016 by the University of Sydney had produced limited results due to dense understory vegetation. The newer drone-mounted systems succeeded because of improved sensor technology, lower flight altitudes, and advanced vegetation filtering algorithms. And the success at Chinchero has prompted plans for comprehensive LiDAR surveys across a 100-square-kilometer area around the main site. 12 structures found in one small sector of a park that covers 36,000 hectares. 60 known archaeological sites, most of them unstudied. The success at Chinchero has triggered plans for expanded surveys. Machine learning algorithms are now being trained on known archaeological features to automatically identify potential sites across vast LiDAR datasets, and a comprehensive scan of a 100-square-kilometer zone around the main citadel is being planned for coming years. This matters because it forces a recalibration. If entire complexes, residential quarters, ritual water systems, staff housing, we're sitting undiscovered less than 5 miles from the most visited ruin in South America, then the boundaries of Machu Picchu are not what the tourist maps suggest. The site is larger, more complex, and more interconnected than any previous model assumed. Ground-penetrating radar investigations of subsurface features are now on the research agenda. Targeted excavations of LiDAR-identified structures are being planned. Every new scan reveals something that wasn't in the textbooks. And if we've been this wrong about what lies on the surface, it raises a harder question. What about what lies underground? Machu Picchu, 60% hidden. Most visitors to Machu Picchu never realize this. An estimated 60% of the site's construction lies beneath the surface. Not the temples, not the terraces, not the iconic stonework that fills every photograph and travel brochure. The hidden foundations, drainage systems, and subsurface infrastructure are invisible to the naked eye, and they are the single most important reason the city has survived for over 5 centuries. When civil engineer Kenneth Wright first arrived at Machu Picchu in 1994, he was, like every tourist, struck by the scenery. But by his second day, he stopped marveling at the view and started studying the engineering. Securing an excavation permit in 1996, and Wright's team began work beneath the plaza, the central space separating the eastern and western urban sectors. What they uncovered rewrote the textbooks on Inca construction. 9 feet below the surface lay a meticulously layered system. The top 3 feet, carefully curated topsoil. Beneath that, a sandy, gravelly layer. At the bottom, a subsurface drainage network constructed entirely from waste rock, the remnants of stones cut for the buildings above. Those chips were white granite, meaning the city originally gleamed in brilliant light rather than the gray tourists see today. And the drainage layer was not mere rubble. It functioned as a porous system that has continuously managed water for centuries. At the very base, the team even found a gold bracelet, the only gold artifact ever recovered at Machu Picchu, and now housed in the Cusco Regional History Museum. Wright's conclusion was stark. Without this engineering, Machu Picchu wouldn't exist. The site receives over 200 centimeters, roughly 76 inches, of annual rainfall, mostly in violent bursts over 7 months. These mountain storms would have reduced an unprotected ridge to mudslides within a generation. The Inca, however, didn't just plan for rainfall, they over-engineered for it. The site contains more than 130 drainage holes integrated into walls, channels embedded in stairways and walkways, roof runoff systems, and a main drain separating agricultural terraces from urban areas. The roughly 700 terraces carved into the mountainside were not merely farming platforms. They were massive retaining walls, layered with stone, gravel, and soil to filter water and prevent landslides. Wright argued that in terms of comprehensive planning for water, the Inca were superior to modern engineers working in the Andes today. But the ingenuity went deeper than drainage. It went into the rock itself. Geologist Rualdo Menegat, in 2019, reframed the question of Machu Picchu's location using satellite imagery and over a decade of field data. He discovered that the city sits at the intersection of multiple fault systems, forming an X-shaped confluence beneath the ridge. Machu Picchu lies in a graben, a block of land dropped between parallel faults during ancient tectonic activity. Rather than being a hazard, this geological setting was a deliberate advantage. First, the intersecting faults fractured granite into predictable shapes. Triangles, hexagons, or rhombohedra, providing pre-cut building material and drastically reducing quarrying effort. Second, the fault lines channeled snowmelt and rainfall underground, creating a reliable water source that the Inca enhanced with a stone collection wall feeding a 749-meter canal and 16 cascading stone fountains, the purest flowing to the emperor's residence. Third, the fractures created natural drainage pathways, allowing water to exit efficiently during storms, stormwater that would have otherwise destroyed the site. The city's walls are oriented along the fault lines themselves, reflecting this understanding. The iconic ashlar masonry, stones cut so precisely no knife can fit between them, performs a critical seismic function. In mortarless structures, the blocks shift during earthquakes, absorb energy, and resettle into position. In historical accounts and modern research confirm this dancing stones principle.
The Incas were masters of stonework and architecture, and the streets of Cusco are filled with examples of their incredible work.
Around 1450, an earthquake of at least magnitude 6.5 damaged early structures, prompting the Inca to redesign with trapezoidal doors and windows, massive bases, and walls that tapered upward for stability. Centuries later, when a 1650 earthquake devastated Spanish colonial buildings in Cusco, the underlying Inca walls remained intact. In 1950, another earthquake destroyed many reconstructed colonial structures, yet the Inca foundation survived once again. Modern engineer Nicolas Estrada Mejia confirms, "When an earthquake strikes Machu Picchu today, only modern restorations fail. The original Inca structures endure. Machu Picchu is not a ruin. It is a living engineering system designed from the bedrock up, with drainage networks, seismic-resistant walls, and water management all integrated into the natural geology. It is a testament to foresight, observation, and precision. The Inca did not merely build for survival, they built for centuries, with a depth of understanding that modern engineers still marvel at. Every stone, every channel, every terrace reflects a civilization that worked with the mountain, not against it, ensuring that the city would withstand the immense geological forces of the Andes. The true marvel of Machu Picchu is that it continues to teach us, silently but insistently, about engineering, resilience, and the intelligence of a civilization that flourished 6 centuries ago. Its survival is no accident. Every rainfall, every earthquake, every footstep on its terraces is a testament to meticulous planning, deliberate construction, and an unmatched understanding of the mountain itself. Intihuatana, where time stands still. At the highest point of the Hanan sector of Machu Picchu, carved directly from the bedrock of the mountain's summit, stands a granite pillar called the Intihuatana. The name comes from Quechua.
Like the Intihuatana, other symbolic monuments at Machu Picchu were built in relation to the sun's position in the sky at these important moments of the year.
Inti means sun. Huatana means to tie, the place where the sun is tied. It is one of the most important surviving objects from the Inca civilization, and one of the least understood. The Intihuatana is a carved stone standing roughly 1 to 2 meters tall on a multi-level base. At its top, a slightly inclined column tilts 13 degrees to the north. The 4 faces of the base align with the cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west. Each face points toward a mountain that the Inca considered sacred: Salcantay to the south, the Huayna Picchu to the north, Mount Veronica to the east. During the equinoxes, around March 21st and September 21st, the sun stands almost directly above the pillar at midday, casting no shadow. During the winter solstice on June 21st, the stone casts its longest shadow toward the south. During the summer solstice on December 21st, the shadow is shorter and falls to the north. These are not accidents of geometry. Studies have confirmed that the angles and surfaces of the Intihuatana track solar positions with accuracy measured within 1 to 3 degrees of arc, a level of precision that allows the stone to function as a reliable calendar for agricultural and ceremonial planning across the entire year. Researcher Gary Urton has demonstrated that the stone's surfaces align with multiple astronomical phenomena simultaneously. The German astronomer Ralph Müller, studying the stone as early as 1920, calculated that its 2 larger sides point roughly 25.5 degrees off magnetic north and 27.5 degrees off magnetic west, directions that correspond to the positions of sunrise and sunset at the solstices. The stone wasn't just marking time, it was encoding the geometry of the solar year into physical form. For the Inca, this mattered in practical and spiritual terms. The agricultural calendar, when to plant, when to harvest, when the rains would come, depended on precise astronomical observation. The Intihuatana was one of several such stones across the empire, but most were destroyed by Spanish colonizers in the 16th century as part of their campaign to eradicate indigenous religion. The Spanish considered the stones instruments of blasphemy. The Intihuatana at Machu Picchu survived only because the Spanish never found the city. It was damaged once, in the year 2000, when a crane being used for a commercial film shoot toppled onto the stone and chipped off a piece of granite. The incident provoked outrage and led to stricter protections. Today, visitors can view the Intihuatana only during limited morning hours, and touching the stone is prohibited. What the Intihuatana represents, alongside the Temple of the Sun, the astronomical windows, and the precisely aligned terraces, is not some vague sense of ancient wisdom. It is engineering, observational science, calendrical precision achieved without telescopes, without written mathematics, without any of the instruments that Western science would later rely on. And the Inca built a mountaintop observatory that still works after 500 years. And now the question becomes, what happens when a civilization's most sophisticated surviving achievement sits 60 kilometers from a construction site designed to bring 8 million people a year into its backyard? The airport, the money, and the timeline. The Chinchero International Airport has been described as many things since 1978. A necessity, a boondoggle, a corruption magnet, a game changer. All of those descriptions carry some truth. The current airport serving Cusco, Alejandro Velasco Estate International, is genuinely inadequate. It handled just over 3 million passengers in 2023. Its single runway is hemmed in by the city on all sides. It cannot accommodate wide-body aircraft. It operates at a limited capacity. For a region that depends on tourism as its economic lifeblood, the bottleneck is real. Chinchero was supposed to fix that. The plan called for a 4,000-meter runway, longer and wider than anything in the region, capable of receiving direct long-haul flights from cities like Miami, São Paulo, and Madrid. A 3-story passenger terminal with 13 gates. A 40,000 square meter facility designed to be Peru's second-largest airport. The initial capacity target, 5 million passengers annually, with expansion plans reaching 8 million. The project has cost an estimated 2.3 trillion Peruvian soles so far. Construction has created over 5,000 direct jobs. Government projections suggest the airport could support up to 1 million people through tourism-related employment. But the path to this point has been anything but clean. The project has cycled through multiple administrations, each leaving its own trail of controversy. Former President Pedro Pablo Kuczynski announced the beginning of construction in 2017 and was later forced to resign amid corruption investigations. The original development contract was awarded to a consortium called Kuntur Wasi, then canceled by the government. A new tender was issued. South Korea's government stepped in with technical assistance. Hyundai Engineering broke ground in 2021.
Workers at a Georgia Hyundai plant describe a chaotic scene after an immigration raid at the facility.
In 2024, President Dina Boluarte signed a contract addendum that restructured the scope of work, splitting terminal construction from runway construction and launching a separate bidding process. Through it all, critical questions have gone unanswered. In 2019, the UNESCO formally called on Peru to halt construction until a heritage impact study could be completed, not just for Chinchero itself, but for Machu Picchu, the city of Cusco, and the Capac Ñan, the Inca road network that runs through the region. The World Monuments Fund repeated the request in 2021, warning that land removal at Chinchero would cause irreversible destruction of the cultural landscape. That comprehensive heritage assessment has not been completed. Construction continued regardless. Environmentalists have raised alarms about the airport's impact on natural springs. According to Oscar Paredes Pando of the National University of St. Anthony, the abbot in Cusco, the airport would destroy at least 17 natural springs that feed into lakes and wetlands, supplying water to Cusco. The watershed of Lake Piuray, which provides nearly half of Cusco's municipal water, sits in the airport's area of influence. Local guide Lisbeth Lopez Becerra told journalists that the region's infrastructure is already under strain. Traffic congestion, water shortages, and inadequate waste management. And a heritage impact assessment remains incomplete. Around Chinchero itself, agricultural land has been sold off for commercial development since the project was announced. Corn and potato fields are being replaced by housing and hotels. The cultural landscape is already changing. Meanwhile, at Machu Picchu, daily visitor numbers are currently capped at between 4,500 and 5,600 depending on the season, with a maximum of 2,400 people allowed within the ruins at any one time. In 2025, the new Seven Wonders project raised alarm bells about over-tourism, and UNESCO warned that poor management could jeopardize the site's World Heritage status. The Peruvian government's position is that economic growth and preservation can coexist. Supporters argue the region desperately needs modern infrastructure.
We stay in Latin America, where Peru may be one of the world's most dynamic economies, but it's also running into some trouble. The government...
That tourism revenue is essential for development, and that visitor management can be scaled alongside capacity. But here's the tension that hasn't been resolved. The airport is being built to bring more people. The science is telling us we haven't finished understanding what those people will be walking on. The heritage assessment UNESCO asked for 7 years ago hasn't been delivered. And the daily capacity at the site was set based on what we knew about Machu Picchu before the DNA studies, before the LiDAR scans, before the geological analysis confirmed the underground engineering that makes the entire site function. The capacity study was supposed to come before the approval. It didn't. The machines keep moving, reshaping the mountain, while beneath the surface, Machu Picchu guards its secrets. Ancient engineering still performs its quiet miracles, unseen and largely unstudied, surviving centuries of earthquakes, monsoons, and human curiosity. But now, modern ambition is testing its limits. Will we uncover what lies beneath before it's too late? Can progress and preservation coexist, or will one force overshadow the other? The answers are still buried in stone, soil, and time, and the story is far from over.